Welcome to the December 2025 edition of the Job Board Leaders Roundtable call. I am Stephen Rothberg with College Recruiter job search site and your host, Matt Farah from nurses.co.uk. I can see you. He was the sort of inspiration and brains behind the effort, and then very wisely put that from his desk onto mine so that he can actually just show up and enjoy himself and contribute. And I get to do all the not quite as fun stuff. These meetings are sponsored by Louise Triance and Louise Grant of Job Boards Connect. They host a couple of conferences a year. They're doing online events now, which they just had one last month. And they've got a great newsletter. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I will turn off the sharing so we can see each other's faces a little bit better. So thank you everybody for coming. I know this time of the year can be kind of busy, crazy, whatever for everybody. We have customers, I think, that are on the one hand, reluctant to do anything at this time of the year. Their budgets are exhausted. They need to get approvals, whatever. And then I think for others, we've got customers who are anxious to get stuff into play at this time of the year. And at least one of us announced today that he has a new job with Bold. So Ethan Bloomfield, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
I think your role at Bold, if it's okay with people, kind of plays into the topic for today, which is maybe how to end the year on a strong note, so that you set yourself up for success into 2026. When I saw your posting on LinkedIn, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to pick on Ethan because I can't think of too many things better than to end the year on a strong note than to be able to announce that you've just landed a great new job. So tell us a little bit about it, and maybe we can also, use that as a springboard for people who are looking or thinking about looking.
Sounds good. Just real quick, I'm only in here for a short time today, not a long time. I'm actually on site in Puerto Rico with Bold this week. Spent with some of Jeff's old employees on the Monster team, as well as the career builder, sales, and marketing teams, getting to know what they've been through, what they're doing, and talking about where we're going with it. So what did you want me to say? How to get a job? Because this
tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing there. Because I kind of was reading between the lines of the job title, and I think that there are a lot of people on this call who already know you, who are going to be reaching out, who already have reached out, who should be reaching out, etc.
So Bold has been for 21 years a job seeker forward, job seeker centric organization, helping job seekers with resumes and document storage, right? As the markets evolved, Jamie made the decision to acquire what was left of Monster and Career Builder after their bankruptcy, and has brought myself, Thad, and probably some others coming down the road into the organization so that we can look at it and see how Monster, Career Builder, and the Bold ecosystem can generally fit into the marketplace. We think there's some huge opportunity and weakness in the realms of what Indeed is doing. LinkedIn just heard their resume seats have gone up 3x this year for renewals. So we think there's a tremendous opportunity to right the ship and see if we can take this thing in a new direction. What is clear and evident is, Jeff, I rarely compliment you, but I will today. The brand you built remains one that's near and dear to the heart of customers, job seekers, and its employees. And I think that's a really powerful thing to be working with. And I am more than excited to be diving in and learning how we can build a real ecosystem and look at this broader market. So, yeah, we're very excited. Strategy, what it's going to be, how it's going to work, don't know. But I'm going to be spending my time looking at Monster and Career Builders sales organizations, process, product, pitch, price. Same thing I've always done at every organization I've been in and out of. And I'm super, super excited about this. It's going to be a fun ride.
Awesome. And, I think that there are people on this call who are thinking about kind of ending the year strong, starting next year strong from like the corporate side, like what can their companies be doing? I think that there are also some people who are thinking about it on the personal side. If it's okay, and I'm not asking you to like divulge any secrets or anything like that, Ethan, but what can you tell us? Because I'm thinking it'd be interesting to hear from you how it happened, like from the personal side. Was it networking? Was there a job posting you applied to? Like, were you looking?
It's exactly what
happened.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what I said. I've known Jamie for 20 years, as you have. And I've known Thad for as long as he's been in the industry. And, when I saw the acquisition, I texted Jamie and I was like, what? Where did that come from? Let's talk. And then he went through everything that they had to go through in beginning to integrate. It's a very fast process. And the end result of that was, can you come, is Jamie and Thad saying, can you come take a look at this with us? And I was like, I'll be on the next flight.
And this is Thad Price, former CEO of Talroo.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. And so I think it speaks well to the value of a network, theirs and yours. And, one thing that I've seen, Terry, I see your head nodding, those of us who have been around for longer, and a lot of those who have just recently joined the industry, I think that you can't overstate the value of a network. You don't want to be trying to plant seeds when you're looking for a new opportunity, whether you lost your job, whether you just said, hey, this isn't for me. Jeff, I saw your hand up. Please jump in.
I would also say deep industry expertise. I think the network is your wrapper, but you can't fake if it's hollow in the middle. And I think, Ethan, what you're describing, I'm just, kind of getting to know you as well, but that the density of the expertise and the amount of touches you might have had with Jamie over the years, or the amount of sightline he might have to your experience, I actually think is actually the real thing it's not talked about at all. Right? The network is such an easy thing. It's like, it's everybody's kind of Achilles heel right now too, because most people are terrible at networking, right? And it's like, okay, just use your network. And everyone's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll go do that. Like, and no fucking idea how to actually really activate their network, right? But the real power, I think, is if you understand the industry, the network comes to you. Right, or the network is connecting with you in layers all over the place. I don't know what other people think, but that's my view.
I think we're in a unique industry, Jeff. From Peter's IAEWS organization, when we all began interacting with frenemies for the first time. Terry was at a DCO, I was at Job Target. We both sold Job Board in a box. We were adamant competitors, unfriendly at times, but we actually learned how to do business in new ways. And to not behave in certain ways. And I think if you look at the history of what we've all done, and where I want to credit Peter, he created an environment where we are able to network and work with deep competitors, people and organizations that on the surface shouldn't be in the same room, have spent the last 20 years in the same room, having conversations, being fairly open with each other, and getting to know each other. And I think, Stephen, because I have to go, thank you for continuing this with this environment in an online, not event, open to everybody environment, because it's a small damn industry.
Yeah.
Most of the faces and names here I have met so many times. And we can all share stories. Stephen and I, of course, can share more stories than most. Young Christian over here who's learning what we're doing. can share stories from the wars that we've been in. Certainly Terry and I and many more of you. So I just wanted to pop in because I knew that we're all LinkedIn. We're also a bunch of gossipy people. So I just wanted to jump in while I had 10 minutes, say hello. Yes, I'm here. I'm so freaking excited about it. Call me if you want to talk about what we're getting up to. And I'll be continuing to participate regularly in this, as it's not every time, but I'll be here. And Stephen, seriously, to Jeff's point, this networking thing, keep it up, man. This is what we need.
Love it.
Yep.
Enjoy the fried plantains, Ethan.
Oh, mofongo. That's what I need. Mofongo. All right. Take care.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
Anybody else have something to add about the sort of the value, like the personal side? Like if you're looking for personal growth at the end of the year, going into next year, new job, promotion, some other kind of opportunity. Anybody looking that wants to share, or that just had, promotion, new job, anything like that? All right.
I mean, I'll throw out.
Oh,
I mean,
please,
I'm always looking for
Hey,
TA
Jim.
people. Hey guys, Jim Durbin. I'm with Respondable. I talk about job boards and recruitment marketing a lot. I've been dealing with a lot of AI sorcerers recently. I help vendors. I'm helping TA departments get better at what they do. So I just pulled in. I actually used a bunch of AI stuff to pull a bunch of lists from my LinkedIn connections, dropped them in the Rocket Reach because LinkedIn doesn't give you emails and phones. I'm going to start back up that old BD thing. I've got 10,000 connections. I should just check with people to see how they're doing, asking basically, hey, how's your TA department doing? Because right now we've got two types of people. Those are absolutely frozen and afraid to spend anything because they keep looking back at the old days. And those who want to do something, but they're frozen because they're not quite sure what to do and they don't realize the enormity. It's like they've got lift up a log, you never know what scutters out, and their tech stacks are so amazingly bad. And they're sitting there with vendors. I listened to one the other day. I had to tell the guy to stop and go, this is terrible. Because the AI recruiter that was talking was fine. The person, the human being that was being interviewed was the most lackluster, dead-eyed, boring voice I'd ever heard. I'm like, you're making the human look worse than the interviewer.
Wow.
Because they didn't understand the point of it. So it's like someone going, oh, yeah, I'm a nurse. I guess I've got like three. I mean, I couldn't believe that this was the demo. This was this highly rated demo. So if you have people that are struggling internally, I make your lives easier by fixing what the vendors do. It's just a monthly thing for the internal TA management. So anybody who needs a little help, needs to understand what to do, has problems with integration, advertising, job descriptions, I train and fix the internal people so that you guys have better lives.
Yeah, Stephen, would it be worth just everybody going around and saying what they do, what their specialty is, what they're excited about? I don't know, something.
Yeah, maybe I'm reluctant to do kind of like 24 people or whatever, kind of giving like a blurb about who they are. It'll suck up all the time, but why don't, and I don't want to put people on the spot who don't want to talk, but anybody who wants to kind of share 10 seconds kind of thing, this is who I am, this is my company, this is something that we're working on right now, to bring in more business. We just launched this new product or something along those lines, a little bit like what Jim did. I think that would be great. Or even if it's just a tip, I can go to kind of to kick that off. Stephen Rothberg, College Recruiter. A tip I have, it kind of goes back years, when we got a call, I think it was like December 31st from the artist that is formerly known as TMP Worldwide. Jeff, I think you probably are familiar with them. And they're now Radency. They had a client that like an hour before had finally said all that prep that Radency had done for them over months and laid out the proposal, and here are the recommendations. We're ready to move forward. But for whatever reason, the client needed those contracts signed that day before the end of the calendar year. And so then they put their ad agency Radency into a very difficult position. And I'm sure Radency was just like all hands on deck, contacting a whole bunch of vendors. And it's like, we have this available for you if you can sign a contract today. And it was, for us, it was quite large. And we did. So one thing I would encourage people to do is at the end of the year is to make sure that there's at least one person available that clients can reach out to like that. I would say half of the years we get a sizable sale on the last day if we're in a position where we can sign a contract that day. Anybody else have, something that they're working on, something, a tip for something that's happened at the end of the year or maybe right at the beginning? Yeah, is that Mark?
Yeah, hi
Mark?
everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Mark,
Yep.
are you driving through Mississauga? And if so, I've been on that freeway and you shouldn't be on it, even at the best of times.
I know, it's horrible. The 401 for those of you that have been in the Toronto area. I don't know if my name is showing properly. I looked at my profile, so it shows Toronto Recruiter. So I run TorontoJobs.ca. I recognize Terry and Jeff there. But my name is Mark Belache. So I'm looking for any job board owners that have resume databases to integrate into a platform we call Gahuza. So feel free to reach out. It's marc@gahuza.com. I don't want to monopolize any more time here, but really appreciate you doing this, Stephen. And really great to connect with all of you. So Mark, marc@gahuza.com. I can't put it in the chat. So, but yeah, if you have a job board, if you have resumes, I'd love to talk to you about integrating with our network that we have going. So thanks.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Anybody that has trouble reaching Mark, reach out to me. He and I have been in touch, and I can get them in touch. I don't like know if you have a dog or what your dog's name is, but I know how to get a hold of you. So anybody else have, I think what Mark is speaking to there too is the opportunities for partnerships. That's definitely something that I see a lot of in our industry.
You guys know Tom Chevalier, just former product head at Appcast. So he's just launched out. He's got a new company called Tink, and he'll probably be talking to a number of you right now. He's got databases, but one of the things he's doing is talking to it's basically agentic applying, but actually working through with candidates. So it's a lot of what other people are doing, but he's probably going to reach out to you guys because a lot of people who are potential clients don't know how to monetize their traffic. They don't know how to monetize their applicants. So I sent him the link to join us next time, Stephen. But
excellent.
If you guys see him looking around, it's interesting. It's still in the very beginning stages, but it's basically how do you talk to candidates and improve their experience in a way that actually matters to them, as opposed to most of what we're seeing now. So Jeff knows how hard that is. It's a great idea. Let's see how let's see how it works. Let's see who pays for it.
Yeah. Anybody have any success stories? You can, leave the client, partner, vendor, whatever, nameless if you want. But has anybody landed a nice new client recently, struck a partnership, feel like you're about to do so, and like end of the year success? Matt, it looks like you've got an idea. Oh, you're muted, Matt. You're mute. See if I can unmute you. There we go. I think we can. No, you're still muted.
It's in your bar right underneath.
Yeah. Oh, he's exiting and he's coming back in.
Yeah.
Here he comes. Oh, you're still muted. Maybe try unplugging your headset, Matt. There we go. We can hear you now.
It didn't have the little mic icon before. Don't know why. But yeah, I've just had 3 renewals that I was. They've been with us for years and years, and Stephen, it's been a really tough year for me.
Yeah.
Healthcare, social care in the UK, and I was so pleased that they're really big clients, and they all renewed, and I was super pleased about that. But I think. So renewals and getting money in is one thing. I always look at actually what the most important thing is my clients getting decent applications. If you're not driving decent applications, you might get the renewal now, but oh shit, in 6 months' time, and you want to renew them again, they're not going to renew. So I've talked a lot this year. We've done a lot of work. We've moved platform basically to the Jobico platform, and firstly, the guys there have been so supportive. They're super intelligent, and they've been so patient with the migration. The thing I think I'm most excited about is Alex Tchaikovsky has worked with us to build, he calls it job data pipeline, and it's using AI. So all of the jobs that come to us now, we automate nearly all of the job posting. Before they go onto the site, we put them through this job data pipeline, and it uses AI to classify all the jobs really nicely. And so what that means is we've got about 9,000 jobs and 4 sites, 9,000 jobs, and our job pages now are looking so organized, so nicely classified. And I know this is super nerdy, but if you're in the strategy marketing area that we are, which is just organic, it's really important. And so I think that's the thing that I've been most excited about. I can look forward next year to I think to these clients renewing for because we're working basically, because I know the site is now structured really well, and I know I can go forward looking for job growth. That's really what I'm looking to do in 2026, get a load more jobs on a nicely structured website, and I think then we can begin to get decent market share in the health and social care sector in the UK, which I know is a really strong sector that Indeed is going after. So yeah, I've been really pleased and proud about that. It's been really hard, but I think we're in a good position for growth now. And if we as a tiny business versus, Indeed, it's if I can take a bit of market share, that's all we need. And so yeah, that's certainly what I've been most pleased about recently.
I see a lot of parallels between what you're saying, Matt, and what Jim said a few minutes ago. Is kind of like spending time now working on your infrastructure. Because this can be definitely a very difficult time of the year to get the attention of customers. And so that can free up time to pursue partnerships, to pursue, putting off or working on the technical projects that you've been putting off. And I'm not saying that you put off projects, but you're seeing a lot of that fruit now from the work that you've done a year ago. You probably started into this journey
it's been a year of focusing on product, and now we can be focused on marketing. And I know that sales is missing from that conversation there, but you got to get a decent product in place. You've got to get your marketing strategy sorted, or else there's no point doing any sales because you're just selling nothing.
Yeah. Hey, Samantha, you mind if I pick on you for a sec? So Samantha's with UBO that amongst other things, hosted application pages, drive up the conversion. Is this a time, if job boards, just as an example of like a vendor to job boards, for you being a vendor to job boards, is this a time of the year where like it's a better time than others to be talking to a vendor about potential contracts, pricing, whatever? I mean, from a vendor to the job board industry, if job boards are looking to bring on a new vendor, is this better now than say the middle of the year, like July, August? Does it not much matter?
I think so. Like, we all know that candidates applying for jobs, there's peaks and troughs throughout the year. There tends to be a trough sort of around December time, so perhaps having a focus on development, how you're moving yourself forward, it's a great time of year to look into it.
Cool. Marty, can I pick on you too with Jay
Yeah,
Ward?
of course.
So Jay, I think you're basically like a competitor to Jobico that Matt just mentioned. I'm sure all's good and in friendly conversations, but you guys can compete for business, right? Is there more of a backlog, less of a backlog? I mean, if a job board wanted to be even just talking with you guys, like what would it look like for us to launch a job board or to migrate a job board? Is this an easier time of the year to have that conversation, a more difficult time? Does it not much matter? I'm just trying to think about it from like when we as job boards are really busy with, you know, new business coming in, hopefully too busy, but you know, if we're really busy with new business coming in, this time of the year is usually slower. And so I'm thinking about like things that we can do to kind of advance our business in 2026 is, you know, bringing on a new vendor partner. It seems like this is a logical time to have that conversation. I think, but
honestly, December usually the best for us, also November, from perspective of like, can we focus more? Because what we see in our like grow and pipeline, people usually postpone that with New Year's goals. They're like, hey, starting from New Year, I'll switch to a new platform or I'll do X. For us, the peak, we get like probably 2 times more like leads than like usual time. It's from January till March, people launch more job boards, and also after summer vacation during September and October. So technically, December is the best time for like, at least in our case, I can say, because like we have more usually resources, and then January it becomes crazy again. Yeah, overall.
cool. And Thibaut, Jobico, same kind of thing with you guys?
I'm curious, actually.
Not giving away too much. It's
and I'm not looking for like, you know, names or dollar numbers or whatever. But is your business also, you know, kind of, you tend to end the year strong? Like maybe more job boards are reaching out at this time of the year, maybe as they have more time when they're not dealing with customers as much.
it's very difficult, like to say anything concrete to you because of our sales cycles being naturally longer. I think, you know, Marty, probably you know, being like a self-service job board provider, you can win a deal in 1 week, you know, like that's so for us the typical sales cycles are anywhere between 60 to 90 days. That's like on average. Sometimes it's 1 year. I think the fastest I've done, and you'd be very proud of me, Marty, was 1 week. That's the fastest I've done, which but that's extremely rare, you know. If we had that all the time, I would be a very happy boy. But I think overall, like our Q4 has been very, very strong. So, but these are conversations that take time, and that we've been working on for a long, long time. Q4 has been very, very strong. And it's, to be honest with you, it's just trying to make sure that we're set up properly for. We're not doing any kickoffs. Like I've made it very, very clear, we're not doing any kickoffs basically from now until the 5th of January, just because the team needs a break. We've got projects in delivery right now. We can't onboard new projects. People need time off. So that's the only thing I would say. But yeah, overall, still trying to close out the year strong. But yeah, Q4 has been good.
Cool.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please fire away, Jim.
Boards?
Go for it.
Most of the time when I'm talking to people, the problem is that I'm working with bigger companies. There's an agency or there's a single supplier. It takes longer to go through finance than it does to actually do any of the actual work that I do. So working with individual niche boards, what kind of things, how do I convince a client? Like what's a pitch as to why I should go with you individually versus programmatic, considering the back end, the integration and others? What's successful to find niche boards? How do I explain that to somebody who just wants one throat to choke? You guys heard that, right? One throat to choke. Maybe that's just an RPO thing.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't strangle people. I don't know what you guys get up to over the pond.
They mean they don't want a big list of vendors because finance loses their minds over it, and sometimes you spend your whole day chasing down invoices, even for big companies. So they want one that they can deal with. So how do I get more people into individual job boards as opposed to doing the conglomerates? Because I think the agencies are struggling. What are some things I can tell people?
Yeah, I think I can answer that. I mean, I run a niche job board. It's all about community. You know, most niche job boards don't, you know, they're not out there just marketing, just selling, just running SEO. There's a community built around it. So for instance, we're disabledperson.com, right? So there's different networks that I can go to get the help that a company needs. It's not just bringing people in off of organic search or directly to the site. There's partners that we have, community agencies that we work with. I think that's the difference. And it would be the same, I think, for any niche, because any job board that has a niche reaches out to the community that they're niched in.
So in RPO, we would do that because everybody want to know how we got different sources. Basically, what do we do besides Indeed? But there is a friction cost to dealing with each individual person. So I could see saying, oh, hey, if you actually care about actually hiring disabled people, go to where they are. Don't just have a filter on a big board. Like, I get how to sell that. Are you guys finding that works enough? I mean, is it about the smoke and mirrors for them on the actual sales point? Does that make sense?
I don't know if this helps, Jim, but I was having a conversation earlier today with one of my clients. She's going on maternity leave and the guy's stepping in, and had a meeting with him to introduce ourselves to each other. And he started off the meeting by saying, I've got to be honest, I don't really use specialist boards. So you've been landed on my lap. And I was like, great, okay. Anyway, we ended up having a really good conversation. And it turns out the reason he gets frustrated with some specialist boards is that they're just not set up. They're still set up for the 2000s. He said, just the last place he was at, they needed veterinary nurses. And he said, all the team, they just had to use this specialist job board. They were manually posting all the jobs themselves. And I said, well, you don't need to do that with us. We just automate everything for you. And he was kind of surprised that it's great that I'm now with Jobico because we can do even more of the things that the big generalist job boards do. But we're set up for all of the things that, that he's used to using on generalist job boards, like ATS integrations, if he wants it, automated job posting. It's all available. So I think you need to know really a bit about the job board that you're recommending to your clients. But if they're set up technology wise in terms of products and offering, you can say, look, there's nothing really different about this specialist job board apart from their, like Mike was saying, their actual reach. The technology is there to make it as easy for you to post to them as it is for you to post to Indeed. We've already got an XML feed that you're using for Indeed. That's fine. They're all set up. You can send that XML feed to this specialist job board. They're all set up. So.
Okay.
And then
that's exactly the question. Why would I use a specialist board? So,
then to build on top of Matt quickly, and then I'll let you jump in, Jeff. Also, this is going to sound really technical, but it's also down to the taxonomies. And Marty's shaking his head with me as well. Like, Matt is in the nurses sector, so he can then go really deep and he can compete against Indeed, because Indeed can't on a generalist site, they can't go. We want a band for NHS nurse in Liverpool, and then with osteoporosis, whatever. Matt would know the terms better than me, but you're able to get that granularity that Indeed can't.
Right.
So it's about the niche, and it's about making sure that it speaks to that community, as Mike said.
Yeah, and I think just as an example, we had a call from a company. They wanted and they were under the gun, like that end of the year stuff. They were under the gun. This is going back a couple of years, and they needed to hire like 10 people with disabilities for a call center by such and such a date. And we made some calls to people local in the area because we had a network, and within 24 hours they had over 20 applications because it reached out to the grassroots. And I think that's the difference with the niche boards. You can get grassroots rather than a general board who's just doing it generally.
And you're probably normally talking to the person who's running the business. Certainly, I deal with all my clients. I'm really, really hungry. I really want their business, and for existing clients, I really, really want their renewal. And so when people contact me, I'm straight back to them, like immediately. One of my clients said yesterday, if there was an award for the fastest replier in the business, you'd win it. And I just think that's really important. I can win on certain things. I can't win on volume, but I can win on customer service.
Right.
I can win on making sure that we go all in on making sure their employer brand is well represented on the site. You know, I really care. So, and that's probably what you'll get at specialist boards. You're going to be getting somebody that really gives a shit.
Can I just throw out something that's specific to your question, Jim? I think it'd be good to have a chart to say, like, where does the money go when you go to one of the big players, right? And then where does the money go? And then where does your posting go? So Appcast is going to put about 60% of your spend on Indeed. And Appcast is going to take 10% on the front end and is going to take some processing fees in the middle and is going to get a kickback from Indeed on the back end, right? And maybe they don't take the kickback, but others do, right? Okay, and then they're going to put 70% on LinkedIn, give or take. And so what you're left with is, what's that, 77? So you're left with, 23% to be distributed in the black box on Appcast, which means you don't even know what's actually getting spent. If you're using a CPA model and you're actually getting your 100 responses from those two channels, it may not ever see Matt's board or Mark's board. And so I really like the idea of going for the volume with an Appcast or with a Recruitix or with a Jovia or something like that, but then also maintaining some target budget. This is a little like donating to a charity. Some charities, 70% of the money goes into the administration. Other charities, all the money you give goes right to the charity. And I think when you go to Matt and say, I want to buy some healthcare positions, all the money that you're putting is going right to those positions. And so I think that there's an argument to make a chart that talks about what you get by the advantage of the big deployment using an Appcast or Jovio, but then also using the specialties and handpick them and then do your own measurement where you can build the relationship and get the right deal and know your money's going in. I don't know what others think, but that I've done a ton of research. Programmatic didn't exist when I left the market. I've been out of the market for 20 years, and I just came back in really in 2023. And it's fascinating. Like an entire business got created because of volume, and it's like whack-a-mole where the money goes. And so I'm a huge proponent of getting them to prove the value. And if they're getting it from Indeed, then just do a deal directly with Indeed. Do the disposition data and all the like stuff. Build a relationship directly in some of these cases.
They're backing
Jim
off
was-
from that, by the way.
Jim, is the problem? So I want to make sure I understand, because it sounds to me like what you're saying is like when you're talking to a talent acquisition client, that they're coming to you and basically saying, why should we use 5 or 10 or whatever niche boards? Why don't we just spend all of our money with Indeed and LinkedIn? Is that kind of what they're saying, or what are they saying, Jim?
With
Or
programmatic.
or
One
with
budget.
programmatic?
So it doesn't matter if it's, hey, if we're using app, like I've got a client that uses an agency as their supplier because it's a lot easier to sign them up than to go through the 6 months of dealing with finance, get everything set up, doing corporate cards and others. So most of the time when I'm talking to someone, the issue is not money and it's not quality. I love the taxonomy argument because there's a difference between getting your jobs ready for high volume in Indeed and putting them on a niche board. It's the same thing. Vivian makes you change everything as you're doing it. So the challenge is when they're going through it, it's a matter of timing, priorities, integration. If I have to integrate all of Appcast, I know it's going to take me 4 months because my HRS just sucks. I don't want to do that with 5 other boards, knowing that I'm going to have an issue with each one. So I was just trying to figure out obviously the don't give all your money to one person and keep crying. If you do it Indeed way, you have to do it that way. You're losing money from the agencies. And the whole point of programmatic was that the broader cost went down, but you're wasting a lot in the middle, but your overall cost went down because you were so wasteful Indeed in the first place. So it really was more a question of what can I sell to them? Customer service is a big part of it, Matt. The taxonomy is a different question of it. The question, the priority, and there's the question of tech. Hey, it's not 20 years ago where literally they have to go in and post every job, because that was the impression, I think. It's all close enough now. Now they can integrate it. What's more important, giving all your money to one person and being captive, or splitting it up so if something goes wrong, you can go over here? And oh, by the way, you're going to brag about your specialty board. You're never going to brag about using a big one. So it seems like there was a bunch of good answers in there. It's dependent for each client, because it's about politics, not about money anymore. It's not about efficiency. Everybody saying efficiency is not going to actually work with you. And it's just not what they care about. It's who am I getting yelled at? Where's the money going? Where's the growth section? And who's complaining in the company, as opposed to save me 12%.
There used to be this expression that nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. You know, it was sort of the safe corporate purchase, that they had the strong brand. Were they the best? You know, maybe in some ways, in many ways, probably not. But you weren't taking a risk, and you weren't therefore at risk of like losing your job because you went with a high return, high risk vendor. I'm hearing that that's part of the issue that you're dealing with. But
I mean, that's kind of the old one. The newer people feel like that, but that's like the old Accenture, McKinsey. That's more employment brand. Like, why did Appcast keep losing to Bayard? It's because they weren't actually an agency; they were programmatic purchaser, which is different. But no, it's about the timing. They have a limited amount of time and energy to fix and actually make something work. And their experiences
from a technical
standpoint, from a process standpoint as well.
Okay.
We haven't fixed our workflows, and we're asking automation to come in and do it. It doesn't do us any good if you guys are making all these innovations if we're still 1980s personnel processes. If we're taking applicants and sending a video and say, hey, give us a video after you applied, which happens quite a bit. So I was just curious what you guys were. I got 4 answers. So, I mean, there was a lot of good answers there. As to push them, which is.
Yeah, I do want to sort of like keep us in this sort of like how to close the year strong, how to start the new year strong. But it just reminds me of a presentation that I saw. It must be 15, even maybe 20 years ago now. It was at a Jobs to Web conference. So that's dating myself. It's probably early 2000s. And there was, I can't remember what her name was, but she was the head of talent acquisition for, I think it was HCR Manor Care. And they ran like a whole bunch of like nursing homes and skilled healthcare facilities around the country. They had to hire a ton of, physical therapists, occupational therapists, nurses, et cetera. I mean, hard to hire people at scale all over the place. They weren't looking to hire 200 people in one location. They were looking to hire one person in 200 locations. That kind of very, very difficult. And he stood up and was talking about their use of the Jobs to Web and the metrics that they were just starting to get, which at the time was really unusual, right? You post a job, you had no idea if it worked. You knew the job was running, but you didn't know where's anybody looking at it, anybody applying to it. Source of hire at that time was a big black box, and it still is with some niche sites. And that's definitely something that I think some sites have to fix. But when she put up a slide, she had like maybe 10 different job boards listed. And Monster was, Jeff was, I think, the number one site at the time in terms of volume, but it was also the most expensive in terms of the cost per application. So I was relatively new. And so I was like, why are you spending so much money with Monster if they're the highest cost per application? The number 7, 8, 9, 10 site on your list was way less in terms of cost per application. And her response was, I would spend all my money with those numbers like 7, 8, 9, 10 sites if they could drive the volume we needed, but they can't. And so that's why we're spending the bulk of our money with Monster. And that's something that maybe some of the TA people, you can talk with them if you're trying to make the case of not spending all of your money with this site but diversifying, is really understanding is like what the real issue they're battling is it really about volume? Is it really about the cost? Because Jim, I think you said it wasn't really an issue of budgets. So having those getting like really honest, straight answers back of exactly what problem they're trying to solve, I think is really critical. Terry, I kind of saw you leaned in, and I know you well enough to know you've got something that can
Yeah.
help.
I'm no longer at PandaLogic, but PandaLogic transitioned from the job network to programmatic. And when we did that, we had a huge amount of data that we would be able to predict what the outcomes were and what the right budget was. So we would beat Appcast because Appcast had a rules-based programmatic system, and we had actual data that we could predict the outcome in the correct budget. And I think made PandaLogic what it was. But you don't do that unless you've got a huge amount of data, right, from all different sources to be able to predict what the outcome is.
Yeah. Jeff, you raised your hand?
Yeah, just make a couple comments based on the day. Thank you for hosting this. My first one is a little bit about the network. I was looking. I've talked to Mark. I've talked to Jim. I've talked to Matt. I've talked to Steve O. I've talked to Steve R. Like even on this group, I've had hours of conversations with like it's getting close to half of you, right? And I think that is a really cool way that we can help each other, is just to get to know each other's businesses, kind of co-opetition. And I would recommend it. I also I went to HR. I went to ERE. I went to I guess TA Tech, 2 different events. I went to Transform. I went to Unleashed. I went to RecFest, and I made it a point. I spent a whole day, and I went to every booth and at each of these conferences, and just met everybody. And I think it's one of the things I'd recommend for everybody, because you get a sense of like where you sit, which really can help you with sales. And I think there's potential partnerships even amongst ourselves where we can help each other. We're not competing, generally speaking. We all do our area and we can help each other, right? And so I guess that's the first thing. I think the second thing is I'm starting a brand new company in a terrible economy, and we've signed 40 development partners, and people are open to new ideas. And so I think 2026 there's just so many new ideas that are out there. I think it's a cool time. We just landed DraftKings. I'll just share a client, right? It's kind of a huge win for us. We're opening in Boston. It's a big employer and whatever. And the thing I'm finding is it's about 4 meetings. It's like 6 hours of meeting time and negotiations back and forth, and companies are coming on. And I think it's just an interesting time where we all have new ideas that we're putting out there because we're reinventing our businesses because of AI and whatever, but companies are pretty open to it. And so that'd be my second thing. And then my third thing is I think we should talk about fraud. Because I'm hearing it from almost every customer right now. And I'm not hearing it. It's not on LinkedIn, but we're all experiencing like just yuck activity happening on LinkedIn right now. And I think the clients I'm talking to, it's like question number 3, which is like, okay, fake applicants and people that are cash stacking, taking multiple jobs, and people that are just being fake candidates is like a huge panic for everybody. It's just started happening like in the last 3 or 4 months. I think it really got noisy. So I want to throw that out there to everybody.
Yeah. Let me piggyback on something that you said, Jeff. And I see that in the chat, people want to open that up. A few people have been kind of sharing like who they are and whatever. Yeah. Please, jump into the chat, share kind of like who you are, your LinkedIn URL or contact information that you might want to share. Because certainly very few of us know all of us. I think probably most of us know at least some of us, but that's great. I just posted mine. I think that the opportunities to partner right now, to sort of piggyback on another thing that you said, Jeff, is really great, because there's a lot of hunger out there. There are a lot of organizations in our industry, and I think in virtually every industry, that are really hurting for revenue right now. And partnerships in a lot of ways can be a lot easier to bring in new revenue, to expand your offerings, to make it easier for others to sell your products. And so some organizations are just better oriented towards partnering than others. Some have this, if we didn't build it, it doesn't exist mentality. And I think in tough economic times, the organizations that are better oriented towards collaborating are better off. Some of you might know, he's no longer in the industry, but Steve Kraut, who was in business development for Next and before what used to be known as Beyond.com, he had this great word to describe that, and he called it coopetition. That we can both compete and we can cooperate at the same time, and I love that. There are plenty of opportunities times out there where, you know, like, I don't know, Mike Corso and I might be going after the same budget, you know, and, you know, may the best service win, and it should. And at other times, we might be like absolutely partnering together in some other way, shape, or form. And that's great also. So
I think it's very rare that you're actually in direct competition with somebody that's doing exactly what you're doing. I think that's what I've come to learn. You know, I'm not really in competition with Indeed. In fact, I probably learned that from this group, and the person on this group knows who that is. And that was like the lifting the veil from my eyes when I realized that most people aren't actually a competitor. Most of those generalist job boards out there, that they're not really my competitors. I can talk to them because clients aren't going to just choose one job board, or, you know, they're not just going to put all of their jobs on Facebook either. They're not just going to plump for social media. The sensible clients are choosing a chocolate box array of platforms and social media and job boards to put their jobs on and to get candidates from. So where do I slot in? I'm not going to try and be everyone. So how do I differentiate myself from everyone else?
I think that Jeff,
one of the other calls a couple of months ago that stuck with me was around delivering the applications that Indeed and LinkedIn can't. And I think that for me is where as specialist job boards we can, because I mean, I work in very similar sector to yourself, Matt, sort of medical and clinical healthcare in the UK, and you know there's significant barriers to entry for people working in going and working in those jobs. They need registrations, they need experience. That, you know, there's only a finite number of people who can do those roles, and it's a sector that's characterized by kind of low levels of active job seeking. So yes, there are candidates that will be able to be delivered by the likes of the Indeed and LinkedIn, but the focus on the niche, the focus on the specialties that we've got, and the allow us to engage with that audience beyond just the active job seeking, and get our customers access to a passive audience that I don't see how Indeed could deliver. I think that ability to reach those candidates they can't access anywhere else, that feels to me like the USP.
I think Jeff brought up an important topic on fraud, right? And when candidates apply, they're looking at the job description, putting in Chat GPT, taking the outcome, enhancing the resume that may not be accurate. And I think agentic agents are the key to engaging candidates, to validate them and making sure that they're accurate. So if you're not building agentic agents to qualify applicants, you're missing the fraud point.
Yeah. David, I think you just raised your hand. You're muted. There we go.
I just wanted to chime in. So I am actually a corporate recruiter for a tech company, and it's not just people using AI to enhance their resumes. What we're finding are state actors like North Korea that have literally rooms of people that are on these calls with us. They are co-opting current LinkedIn profiles. And so the gymnastics that we have to take to basically identify is somebody real or not while we're talking to them is just incredible. So I just thought I would throw that in there.
Yeah, thank you. We had that experience. We were hiring a staff accountant about a year and a half ago. And I don't think we'll ever know, but I'm pretty sure that the person who applied that was one of our finalists was not actually a real person. I don't mean that they were AI, but I think that it was an identity theft or fraud kind of situation where it was, Cindy pretending to be Fred, or something like that. And was it a foreign actor? Quite possibly. Applying to be a staff accountant in most organizations would give you really good access to really, really sensitive data, maybe even to banking information. Not in our environment, but they wouldn't have known that until they were, hired. And there were definitely some red flags. We mailed her something and it came back to us because the postal address was invalid. She put down like 123 Main Street, and they're in that city. There was no 123 Main Street. There was 123 Main Avenue. Okay, well, I don't think that looking for discrepancies like that is a good strategy, because I think that these people, these systems, these processes are just going to get better and better and better. So that might be putting a Band-Aid on the problem right now, but I think that there has to be some kind of systemic change. Before we just have like a couple of minutes before the top of the hour, if I can just kind of close with a couple of things. I want to go back to the comment about sort of about like how to compete with the Indeeds and LinkedIn's, and Matt talking about how I think he's come to realize that he doesn't really compete against them. I agree entirely. I'm a big history nerd. I'm getting close to finishing the Age of Napoleon podcast, which is anybody who has like 200 hours that they haven't figured out how to use. I would highly encourage it. But one of the real lessons that I've learned from that is that, he was incredibly successful in almost everything he did, not everything. But when he failed, it's because he chose to fight battles that on his enemy's terms. When he succeeded, he fought the battles that he could win. When he had an advantage, whether it was literally a battlefield or in politics or in his personal life. And if you try to fight Indeed, and go directly against them on the products that they have and try to do it better than they are, I think that's a losing battle. They are really great in a lot of things, but not everything. And so, don't go head to head. The other thing is these calls, second Thursday of each month at the same time. Next month, I used a little bit of executive authority to change the format slightly. Ben Eubanks and Jerry Chrisman are going to be our guests, and they're going to be debating, and we will all chime in kind of like a panel discussion. They're going to be debating whether candidates that are hired through agentic AI or some other kind of AI assistance are actually more productive. And they have different opinions on that. So I think it should be an interesting discussion. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Yeah, happy Christmas, everyone.